In the very beginning of our Parashat Ve'etchanan, Moshe recalls how he prayed for permission to enter Eretz Yisrael. At the time of this prayer, Moshe was standing on the eastern side of the Jordan River and prayed to be granted access to the western side, what is known as Eretz Yisrael proper. This implies that the land to the eastern side of the Jordan River was not part of Eretz Yisrael. Furthermore, the Gemara in Masechet Sota on Daf Yud Daled Amud Aleph explains that Moshe desired to enter Eretz Yisrael not in order to partake of the delicious fruits or perhaps to enjoy the beauty of the land, but rather to fulfill the mitzvot inside of Eretz Yisrael. The implication of Moshe's prayer and the explanation of the Gemara in Masechet Sota is that the land on the eastern side of the Jordan River is not part of Eretz Yisrael, and Moshe desired to enter Eretz Yisrael specifically to fulfill the mitzvot Tzliot Ba'aretz, the mitzvot that can only be done in the land of Israel. All other mitzvot could have been fulfilled by Moshe on the eastern side of the Jordan River, which was not part of Eretz Yisrael. There is a problem, however, when we continue reading the parasha and we encounter the instructions that Hashem gave Moshe to ascend to the top of a tall mountain and look into Eretz Yisrael. In that set of instructions, Hashem tells Moshe to look to the north, the south, the west, and even the east. The implication of this instruction to look to the east is that even the land to the east of the Jordan River, where Moshe was situated, is included in Eretz Yisrael. How can we understand the contradiction that exists between this instruction that Moshe should look to the east of the Jordan River with Moshe's request to cross the river in order to fulfill the mitzvot as the Gemara explained in Eretz Yisrael? The Yeshuot Malko, written by Rav Yehoshua Kutna, explains that the land on the eastern side of the Jordan River was in fact part of Eretz Yisrael. He derives this from the halacha that the Jewish people are only able on a Torah level to fulfill the mitzvot of Yovel and Shemitah when the Jewish nation as a whole is living inside of Eretz Yisrael. We know that during the time of Bayit Rishon, the Jewish nation did observe these mitzvot, and we also know that 2.5 tribes, the tribes of Reuven, Gad, and half of Manasseh, lived on the eastern side of the Jordan River. If the Jewish people lived on the western side of the Jordan River, and these 2.5 tribes lived on the eastern side of the Jordan River, it must be then that the eastern side is also included in Eretz Yisrael. Otherwise, the nation would not have been able to fulfill the mitzvot of Shemitah and Yovel. However, we are now stuck. We must understand why Moshe so deeply desired to cross the river and enter the western side of the Jordan River. In order to answer this question, I'd like to bring your attention to the words of the Tashbeitz. Rav Shimon ben Samach, known famously as the Tashbeitz, explains that there is a fundamental difference between the land on the western side of the Jordan River versus the land on the eastern side of the Jordan River. Any area which was conquered during the time of Moshe and subsequently Yehoshua was given the status of Eretz Yisrael for the sake of mitzvot Tzliot Ba'aretz, the mitzvot that can only be done in the land. However, only the land on the western side of the Jordan River, which was imbued with a special sanctity already since the time of Avraham Avinu and perhaps earlier since the time that the world was created, that is considered the land of Eretz Yisrael that has a higher level of Kedusha due to the Hashrat HaShechina, the residing of Hashem's presence in that land. Although Moshe could have even fulfilled the mitzvot Tzliot Ba'aretz, explains the Tashbeitz, on the eastern side of the Jordan River, Moshe desired to fulfill the mitzvot Tzliot Ba'aretz and all of the mitzvot on the western side. For that fulfillment of those mitzvot would be on the level of Eretz Yisrael that has the Hashrat HaShechina. This is a much higher level of fulfilling a mitzvah. we can now understand why Moshe desired to enter the western side of the Jordan River. It's not that the eastern side was not included in Eretz Yisrael. It was. However, Moshe understood a lesson that is particularly inspirational for us nowadays, and that is that there is a greater fulfillment of the mitzvah of Yishuv Haaretz, and in fact all of the mitzvot, when they are done in Eretz Yisrael proper on the western side of the Jordan River, due to Hashem's presence residing in this land. We have the opportunity nowadays to live in this beautiful land, to fulfill the mitzvot in the greatest way possible, and to experience the Hashrat HaShechina that only exists here.